Hi everyone. Today it's all about health and our well-being, because despite social distancing, how can we best ensure that our bodies are capable of dealing with the unpredictability of living in this time of uncertainty? Well, the answer obviously is social distancing, because like you, like me, we are distancing ourselves from our friends and family in order to stay safe. But most importantly, we have to build our body's immune system to strengthen its ability to fight whatever it is that's out there. So much is unknown about this virus regarding how it affects each person, why some people are asymptomatic while others, it's devastating. So today we'll talk about your health, managing stress, strengthening your immune system, and what it's like to battle a complex illness like COVID-19. Hello, I'm Michael Robinson, host of the Michael S. Robinson Show every day here on Microbin Radio. Welcome to our live streaming through our series called Us Beyond COVID-19, designed to help uplift you, inspire you, and hopefully bring you information that is necessary to make good decisions. We're live at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Look for us on Facebook. It's Michael Robinson NY. On YouTube, it's the Michael S. Robinson Show. And subscribe to my channel. Give me a couple of likes, and you would know when I am live. So today I have a very special guest with me. Like I said, we're going to be talking about health and nutrition. And my guest is all about keeping you healthy. She is a stress science expert, nutritional consultant, a personal trainer, behavior change specialist, and clinical hypnotist. She's turning stress management on its head. Her name is Jean Ricks. Welcome to the show, Jean.
Hey, good to be with you.
How are you feeling?
Oh. I told you, sometimes now I take a deep breath just to feel what it feels like to breathe without pain. It's amazing.
So you were dealing with something during the past couple of weeks. Tell us about it.
You know, it wasn't one of those things where you go, "Ooh, I think I'm not feeling well. Maybe I should take something." No, Michael, this started with a fever of 102.6 right off the bat, with chills so violent that I couldn't stop shaking. Had on 3 tops, had on blankets, and still could not stop shaking. The joint pain felt as if someone were trying to take my arms out of the sockets. It was a splitting headache on top of all of that. It was unbelievable. And that fever, that chain of symptoms, lasted for almost 18 days straight.
Wow.
At
18
around
days?
at around
Wow.
day 15, I started having the what had been like just a slight rattle became a real cough and a real concern. And I was able to get a chest x-ray, which revealed that I was in the beginning stages of pneumonia. Fluid had begun to build in my lungs. So now, in addition to fighting what was obviously a viral infection, which is completely different, it's a completely different animal,
Sure.
I now had to fight a bacterial infection at the same time. I understand how people who are more compromised, I was fortunate to be in physically good shape to begin with, but I understand how people who are compromised in any way would have problems with recovering from this, because again, you're fighting this one thing so hard, your body's working with it, and then boom, now you've got a bacterial infection to work against as well.
Right. It's almost as if the body starts fighting itself, and you're dealing with complications from bacterial infection. When it's a virus that initially infected you, it is complex. So you just mentioned to me that you tested negative for COVID?
Exactly. The doctors want me, I have 3 different doctors here who are saying that, oh no, it had to have been COVID. I need the antibody test in order to find out what it really was. The testing, unfortunately, is not always accurate.
Correct.
You get false positives as well as false negatives. And as you've probably heard as well, once you have the virus in your system, you will get the antibodies. So the antibody testing will give me the final results.
Right. And I'm wondering if that makes you protects you from future infection, because we still don't know so much about this virus.
unless it mutates.
Right.
Do you know the difference between bacteria and viruses? Can we go through that?
Oh
Because
yeah.
a
Yes,
lot of people
let's talk
seem to
about it
have
because a lot of people
this.
have a misconception of viruses and
Yes,
bacterias, and they take
yes.
antibiotics to treat viruses when it's not really effective because a bacteria is different from a virus. So talk about it. Yes.
The best way to describe it, and you know what a thumb drive is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a thumb drive, you can't run a program from here, but you can put a program on it and then put it on your computer and run the program from there. This is what a virus is in our bodies. It has the information, it has the program, but it's
Right.
not living. Bacteria is actually living. You can kill bacteria with Clorox. Don't do the
Yes,
Trump
please
thing.
be clear about that.
But you can kill
Yeah.
bacteria. You cannot kill a virus.
Right.
It's just a container that has a program in it. And what makes it all the worse is that the container it's in is like titanium. It's a protein shell that our immune system has trouble getting through to. So what it does, Michael, it latches onto one of your cells and then it starts replicating itself like
Mm-hmm.
a printer that's gone crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's replicating itself so fast, now that original cell bursts open. And all those copies, because it's dead now, but all the copies are living and they go spread out and they do the same thing throughout your system. Well, your immune system can't catch up. It's so many copies that your immune system can't and that's why it is so pernicious. That's why it's so
Correct.
hard to get rid of it, because your immune system can't catch up to do what it does. Our immune system is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, we have thousands of years of adaptation. It knows what to do. Your body knows how to get healthy, but it needs a time to get in front of that
Right.
infection.
And especially when something new is introduced to the body that it has never seen before, it goes almost crazy because not only are you having the white blood cells running out to attack this virus or attack this bacteria that's replicating in your body, but you have this excess buildup of lots of fluids and excess from the body trying to deal with it. So one of the things that I think we need to talk about is how to best prepare ourselves, right? Build our immunity so that we can be in optimum shape. Because a lot of people who are dealing with the complications from COVID-19 are people with compromised immune systems, people who are elderly, people who may have underlying health conditions. And like you said, I mean, there's so much going on in the body that if your immune system is somewhat on shaky grounds, chances are it's a lot more difficult for you to fight it. So let's talk about building the immune system. Go ahead, Jean.
Well, first and foremost, you know this very well. You have to get rid of the sugar. We are all sugar addicts. I am too. I mean, I know that you've heard people say, oh, well, after you stay away from sugar for a while, you don't even crave it. Wrong.
Not true.
Sugar, no. Sugar hits the same opiate receptor in
Oh,
your
yes.
brain as opium. It
Right.
really is an addiction. But it makes your body acidic. All of that sugar compromises your immune system immediately because once your body is acidic, now it's fighting on two fronts because now it has the potential for chronic inflammation, which causes a whole range of diseases and issues all by itself. So sugar, first and foremost, is the thing that you want to pull back on as much as possible. Now, sugar, get this, because a lot of people have a misconception about this. Any carbohydrate that you have, that means lettuce, spinach, celery, as well as bread, donuts, as well as rice. All of these, your body actually metabolizes as sugar.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying, well, wait a minute, wait.
Yes, exactly.
If all of that's sugar, think of early man. Early man or early humans, they had to get their food from a multitude of sources because they were on the move. They didn't have farming. That meant anything that their body got to process, their body had to learn how to turn it into energy to keep
sure.
them moving.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why there's such a wide variety of foods that we eat that are turned into sugar. But what I'm trying to get across to you is there are good choices for sugar and then there are bad choices, right? There's the spinach salad. or there's the cookies. You want to make the better choice because your body is going to turn that into sugar. And you want the one that has the more nutrients. The spinach salad is going to give you nutrients that help to replenish your body. So you want to make the choices that are going to give you more nutrients. You also want to get water. And it's when you're sick, oh, Michael, when I had that fever, my thirst was unquenchable. My fever would range from about 102.7 or 8 down to like 99.7. It would take a holding position at 99.7 and then zoom back up to 102. Do you know what I mean? It was like rarely in between. It was like always one or the other. And you get such a thirst. So I want people to have on hand some electrolytes. Now, you can get electrolytes from Gatorade and Pedialyte, but those have a lot of sugar in them. I want you to also consider fermented foods, pickles, kimchi you might have heard of, or the Italians have, is it called muffata? How do you pronounce it? I don't know.
I'm not sure about the muffata, but kimchi for certain.
Sauerkraut.
Yeah.
Pickles, all those kinds of foods are going to give your body electrolytes and also help break down things like mucus in your chest, and which actually starts in the digestive tract.
But also you get probiotics from those pickled things as well, which is fantastic for you.
Absolutely.
For the gut,
but again,
anyway.
if it's the virus, those aren't going to help you so much. Like I've heard rumors, there are all these myths out there. Oh, Michael, eat more garlic and have mother's breast milk. There are all kinds. Then there are the people who want to say you have to steam yourself, put citrus peels in water and boil it and steam it. Here's the thing. The virus, once it touches one of your mucous membranes, you're out, you're breathing, it touches a mucous membrane, either through your eyes or you breathe it in, gets in through your mouth. As soon as, instantaneously, when it touches that mucous membrane, it goes into your bloodstream immediately. It's not sitting, waiting on the outside, waiting for something to do. It's not having a latte. It literally, the instant you have that contact with that it makes contact with your mucous membrane, it's in your bloodstream. And that's where it incubates. I think because people heard that it incubates and it can incubate for like 2 or 14 days, they thought it was incubating in the nose, in the hair. No, you can't steam it away. If you take your hands and put them right at the back on where your waistline is, where your belt is, that's how low down your lungs go. Right? So if you're breathing in steam, you're not going to have an effect down here in the lower lung to begin with. Just to begin with, if it was a possibility. But again, it's incubating in your bloodstream. You can't steam away something in your bloodstream.
So what do we do? We're talking about vitamin C and zinc. Friends of mine, of course, I've studied health and nutrition most of my adult life, and we know that vitamin C and zinc certainly helps to build your immune system. Let's talk about those types of foods and how important they are in helping you to get a leg up.
Absolutely. The way to get through this or any illness is to have, first and foremost, your immune system at the highest it can. Now, again, this isn't a bacteria, so it's a different kind of mindset. But certainly vitamin C and the kinds of foods that have vitamin C, you're talking about your citrus fruits as well as spinach. You get vitamin C in so many different ways, but as you mentioned, there's zinc, but there's also something called proteolytic enzymes. Are you familiar with those?
No, tell us about that.
What's wonderful is your body makes these enzymes naturally. But when you have an illness, you're in need of higher levels of those proteolytic enzymes. And remember when I talked about the casing around the virus being the problem? Well, what proteolytic enzymes? They break through the protein, and so they help your immune system be able to get through to the virus. So proteolytic enzymes are a wonderful way to just start helping your body and to be able to get past that virus.
So what types of foods are contained with the proteolytic enzymes?
Well, with those, it's no.
Okay.
Enzymes come in most of our vegetables. And enzymes are also, again, your body makes them naturally.
Right.
So I actually buy an enzyme supplement to use for the proteolytic enzymes.
So you cannot ingest it in terms of a supplement or in foods that we eat? No?
Exactly. Through food is
I
medicine,
see.
and through using proteolytic enzyme supplementation, they're already isolated. Your body makes them, for instance, protease digests all the proteins in your body.
Right.
Lipase digests all the fats in your body. So what the proteolytic enzymes are, it's a specific group of them that have been shown to help with viruses, right? So you get them, yes, through foods, but again, you really do have to actually supplement proteolytic enzymes in order to get enough to maximize the effect. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. But what kinds of foods are we talking about that might have them?
So, for instance, the vegetable, that's again why we emphasize so often take your vegetables.
Okay.
But pineapple has bromelain. Ginger is another wonderful source of enzymes. Kiwi, papaya, sauerkraut, which I mentioned earlier.
Right.
And are you familiar with miso? Miso
Yes,
soup?
of course.
Miso is, again, a fermented food, and that's going to give you more of the proteolytic enzymes. So those are the ones that are the highest in proteolytic enzymes. And again, in order to get enough of them to really be effective, though, you really do need to actually supplement. But certainly having those foods in your system are important too, because it's about having a high enough quantity of them in your system to have the effect. But again, it's like pepsin, trypsin, protease. There's a whole list of the viral fusion inhibition enzymes.
Wow, this is great, great, great. Nuggets of wisdom we're getting. Let's talk about stress, because stress affects the immune system. It affects our bodies. It affects so much. How important is stress in managing our immune system and our health and well-being?
It's amazing, Michael, because we have adapted this word stress, but it's not real. It's like chewing gum. Okay, if I were to tell you that your body doesn't know you're chewing gum, your body thinks you're at a banquet, a feast, because you keep sending down signals for it to give you more digestive juices. Your brain doesn't know that that's just gum. Same thing with quote unquote stress. There's no such thing as stress. The brain only knows danger and non-danger. There's no middle gray area here for stress. So when you are under stress, and for instance, just the fact that you get a phone call that you weren't expecting from someone who you know is a problem area, in that instant that you have that reaction, a cascade event happens in your body. It is fight or flight for real. Even though you know it's just stress, your body doesn't know that. And so it begins shifting its resources from things like digestion, things like immunity health, to what it needs for running, because it thinks you're about to run away from danger. So that's why when you're under constant stress, and right now I would say most of us are living under constant stress, which means our immune system isn't getting the full resources that it needs. Things like sleep are compromised. Digestion is compromised because your body thinks, well, why do I have to spare resources for digestion when you're about to be eaten by a tiger anyway? Same thing with sexual drive. That gets turned down as well because you're under stress, but your body thinks you're about to run away from a burning building. So we have to be conscious of the fact that just our way of reframing things, stress reframing really does work. That's where it's a technique where you have something that you know is a stressor, right? First of all, you have to be willing to admit it. And a lot of people, they're so bold. Oh, they just keep going and keep going and keep going. They never admit it. But okay, so once you recognize that you're under stress, you can look at that stressor and say, okay, yeah, I've got a little buzz going. I've got some energy going here. I'm going to breathe and I'm going to repackage that energy to use it to propel me forward. So now you're telling the brain a story about the symptoms that it's having. Do you see what I mean?
Yes, yes.
And when you change that story, now the brain reacts differently. You know, even just taking a deep breath, allows the chest to open, the stomach muscles have to loosen, the back opens up. Now, subliminally, you're telling your brain that there's no danger.
Yeah, no
Because
problem.
you wouldn't be
Just,
taking a
yeah,
breath, right?
absolutely. Yes, yes. And that's another thing that I was going to ask you about, because for me, breathing is important. It's something that it's so automatic for us that so many of us take it for granted. But as a yogi myself, I know how important it is to breathe. I mean, it's really what the asanas that we do, or the poses that we do. The main thing is the breath, focusing on breathing in and breathing out. So yeah, you're doing complex poses, but the breath is what takes you into the poses. And, I try to take that into my life in general, so that everything becomes kind of like a proactive breathing exercise for me. Even coming on shows like this, I mean, it's not easy to every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday come on at 6 o'clock and have to deal with technical complications or or otherwise, because a lot of times, it becomes stressful and you become overwhelmed and you become like, oh my gosh, what if the guest doesn't show up, or what if they have technical issues? So you have all of these flags floating around you of stresses, and without breathing, without centering myself, I would be a wreck. But fortunately, I breathe. And
when you breathe, you already naturally are breathing diaphragmatically, aren't you?
Absolutely, absolutely. Into the diaphragm, not into the chest, but into the lower body. And that's what I try to tell people, is that breathing isn't about up here. It's about pushing the air into your diaphragm, expanding it downwards. That's when you get the best breath.
But most of us, the majority of people, are doing shallow breathing all day long, shallow breathing. Now, that has a twofold effect, because on the one hand, shallow breathing is what you do when you're in danger. So that you can hear better, So on the one hand, it's telling subliminally your mind, your subconscious, that there's danger, just because you're not taking a good breath. But on the other hand, it also causes a certain level of stress. So, but a lot of people aren't aware that they are shallow breathing throughout the day. And Michael, there are some people who haven't taken yoga and don't know how to breathe diaphragmatically. So if I can, I'd like to offer them a suggestion.
Please, I'd love that.
If when you take a breath in, you find that you're only expanding the chest, you're only getting it here, no matter what you do, I'll tell you what the secret is. Now remember, babies, when they come here, they're automatically diaphragmatically breathing. What you need to do is just lay yourself on your back, and I guarantee you, automatically, you will be breathing diaphragmatically. Automatically. You don't even have to think about it. It happens automatically. So once you get accustomed to that, practice it. Use it as a tool so that you know when you stand back up, oh wait, look, it's not happening. And remember that sensation so that you can find it again when you are standing or sitting up. And focus on trying to make that your dominant way of breathing. Do you see?
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Let's talk about the lessons you've learned based on your journey for the past couple of weeks, because I want to hear your story. What have you gained from this time in your life?
Oh, well, there's so much. First of all, I want to mention to people, please prepare in advance for something like this, a trauma that sets you aside, because I didn't.
Right. Especially if you live alone.
I lost 11 pounds because when you are that sick, you don't feel like I live alone. So you don't have the energy nor the interest in eating. You need to prepare foods in advance. Have staples on hand that you can get to. And we need this anyway in our lives, because the more of the good stuff you have in your cabinets, in your refrigerator, that means you're going to more often reach for those items instead of the things that you're not supposed to, the naughty kind of things. So you want to have on hand, again, I did not do this. And from day one of my illness, had I just stopped, and again, the fever was 102.6, but make a pot of soup, make a pot of oatmeal, make a pot of large pots of things that you know you can eat a little bit of here, a little bit of that are going to give you energy, but also keep you nourished. So it needs to be good stuff. I don't microwave. I don't recommend microwaving food because of what it does to the nutrients in the food. It vibrates and shakes them and rattles them, and really you don't have many nutrients left. But what I will say is a pot of soup is such a simple thing. A few cans of this, a few cans of that. I often have clients who ask me, well, is it okay to use frozen vegetables? Yes, absolutely, because today's technology allows farmers, our wonderful heroes who farm, to be able to flash freeze vegetables at the peak of their ripeness. So when you get that frozen vegetable, it is still a wonderful way to get nutrients in you. But I want you to not overcook them. We don't want gray vegetables. We don't want dark green. We want them to still have some color. But again, I also want to encourage you in terms of preparedness to have that person who you know you can call, or if you're lucky, several people who you know you can call, who will keep in touch and keep looking in on you. I was blessed to have a friend literally from my grammar school. I've known her that long.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's great.
Who was checking in on me, who was, at odd times would just say, hey, what's going on? Hey, that doesn't sound so good. Because you're not, even though I'm a nutritionist and all this blah, 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 there are times when you're just not thinking straight.
Sure.
The infection just has you wanting to lay down. I exercised, Michael, every single day, whether it was only for 6 minutes or 10 minutes or whether I could do a full 20 or 30. I exercised every day to keep the chest open because I knew that was an issue, and to keep the metabolism moving, to keep it going so that your body has an opportunity to bring in fresh blood, You can't just lay there. You have to get up. You must.
Let's talk
So that's
about
another thing I
exercising,
would
because
encourage.
that's something that many of us are not doing, whether we've dealt with COVID-19 or not. The gyms are not open. The yoga studios are not open. How do we get our exercises when we're locked in an apartment or a house by ourselves? What can we do to get the blood pumping and our bodies moving and, burn some of these free radicals out of our systems?
There's some wonderful things. First of all, of course, breathing exercises, right? A little yoga where you're actually breathing. But even just doing simple things, like if you can't do a full squat, just do a simple squat, raise your hands above the head, just a light squat. Just doing that motion starts the body pumping, right? So simple, so simple. Things like jumping jacks, things like twists. Turn on some music, do the twist. You pull out those 60s, 70s, I'm serious. That was such a big upper body midsection. Are you kidding?
Right.
Do the twist for 5 minutes and tell me if you don't feel a little exercise. Dance. I'm serious.
Yes,
Turn on the music and dance. And again, laugh too.
Right.
Laughter is so healing. Find something that is hysterical to laugh at. Turn on some old Eddie Murphy. Find something that makes you laugh. Talk to people. Talk to your friends and family.
Yes.
Have that connection. It's nurturing. You have to give yourself permission to nurture yourself, to do the things that you need to get healthy.
Yes.
And again, that sugar component, oh my God.
Yeah. I also would add salt to that because I think sometimes we use way too much salt in our diet. So sugar and salt for me has been something that I've looked at very carefully years ago, and certainly don't put any in my foods when I cook. Yeah. So good. I think it's important to be thinking of how we can help people, because there are so many people dealing with anxiety and the stresses of uncertainty about a future job. Many people are on furloughs right now, and they're scared about whether they'll have a job in 4 or 5 months' time. So all of these fears bring about that stress factor that we talked about, and certainly being able to be mindful that and that's another thing I think that we should mention, because a lot of times we are unconsciously stressed, right? We're walking around thinking these narratives in our minds and creating this unnecessary stress. So being able to be present, being able to come to the moment of saying, you know what, Jean said this, and that is true. So, how do we move into the moment of present? You don't have to be a yoga teacher or student, but how do you come into a moment of present when you are clueless?
Michael, I had an epiphany, and I hope this isn't too woo-woo for you, but
No, no, go
during
ahead.
one of those episodes where I was really shaking, because that happened several different times, I'm laying there, I was like, oh my God, I had an epiphany, which was, and I don't know why, because I was thinking, well, about meditation, and I think meditation is the wrong word, and I think it takes people to a more complicated way of thinking about it than you really need to. Meditation instead, I think, should be called communion. Having a moment of communion, and that communion is with your inner self. It's with the highest purpose in your life. It's taking a moment to close your eyes, close out as much as possible you can the external, and have a moment of communion with whatever higher power you believe in or the higher essence of yourself. It's bringing in communion rather than thinking of it as meditation, which means, oh, it has to, maybe I need to be on a mountaintop in order
Right,
to really achieve.
right.
No.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would encourage, oh, Michael, I did this so often, is visualize. Now, I
Mm,
know for some people that's difficult. They have not exercised. It's another muscle. You have to exercise your imagination. But if you could bring yourself to imagine, just take a moment, take a couple of breaths so that you're centering and you're relaxed, and visualize that perfect job. See yourself in that perfect position in first person. In other words, not as third person. In other words, not seeing yourself walk around, but literally seeing through your eyes as you are walking or speaking or on the computer in your new position, so that you literally feel the feelings of being in that new position. I used it for feeling healthy. I could feel the health underneath the illness that I had. I mean, I was wickedly the pain in my joints was just it was beyond compare. I've never been this sick.
my goodness,
I
yes.
urge you to feel
Hmm.
confidently the health beneath the illness. Visualize yourself, which I did, going around playing. For me, it's tennis. So
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
visualized myself hitting on the wall or playing across with playing tennis. Even at times when I was just sweating bullets trying to get rid of this fever. So visualization is something, I mean, maybe you're a beach person. Maybe
Hmm.
in order to get through stressful events, it doesn't take 30 minutes. You literally can be standing in the elevator, close your eyes in a moment for a moment, and visualize yourself on that beach, see the water, feel the sun coming from a specific direction, hear the seagulls. If you're standing on the corner, if you just got off the bus, if you just arrived at your location, you're driving, and you finally got to your destination, you don't have to jump out of your car.
Yeah. Take
Take
your
a
time.
moment.
Hmm.
Take a moment, take a beat.
Hmm.
Anything you do after that is going to be so much better done. You're going to be so much more present. There's more oxygen flowing through your bloodstream. You'll be thinking better. Anything you do after that is going to improve.
Hmm.
Take some time, people, for self-care.
You know, it's very interesting that you say that because on Sunday, one of my neighbors turned 100, and his daughter wanted me to interview him, sort of like something for them to have for, perpetuity. So I said to him, what is one of the advices you can give to your family and friends about how they can live a long life as you do? And he said to me, and it was kind of a little strange at first when he said it, he said, I take my time and I chew my food very slowly and very carefully. And I take my time, and sometimes I'm the last person to get up from the table. And I mean, it's into the whole realm of what we're talking about. If you can take your time and enjoy life and enjoy being present, being in the moment, visualizing a happy life, a happy future, of a career that you want, I think, the chances are that you will get there.
But again, that's hard for some people.
Mm-hmm.
So I encourage you to start small. Don't think you have to do it for 10 minutes or 12 minutes. Get rid of the clocks, get rid of the watches.
Right.
Just if you can just pull that vision, relax a little bit, and if you
Mm-hmm.
can just pull that vision into focus for just a few moments, that is sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
Give me 15 seconds, 17, 20 seconds.
Mm.
Do you know what I'm saying? We
Oh
put
yeah.
so much pressure on people. Same thing with exercise, and I'm sure you know this too. People still believe that the hour-long Zumba and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff is the best because they've been sold these packages because that's what gyms do. They sell you a package. But the fact of the matter is, research has proven that short amounts of exercise in short packets are what's really helping the immune system, helping the
Mm-hmm.
metabolism, helping build more muscle.
Correct.
You don't need the long periods of exercise. When I do high intensity interval training, I'm done in like 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
my body is revved up. I'm again building more muscles, the
Mm-hmm.
metabolism is better, the cardiovascular system is better. So do that same thing for the rest of your world. Get rid of the
Mm-hmm.
clocks. Get rid of the sense that, oh, I don't have time for that. Yes, you do. It's
Mm-hmm.
your life. You have time, and it helps everyone around you. Give yourself permission.
You are fabulous. So tell us about your services and how someone can reach you.
Ah, I have a wonderful website. I call it New Day, Nuday, because once again, subliminal. I realized one day I was walking along, I said, you know what? I don't have to take the crap from my earlier life into my current life. Every day is a new day and a new opportunity for me to feel better. So my website and my company are called New Day, Nuday, and they can reach me through that. And also, I help people with clinical hypnosis. So I've
Mm-hmm.
helped people reduce their pain levels in terms of going through chemotherapy or rheumatoid arthritis, different things like that. I even helped a couple of guys pass the bar exam because they were so nervous. And I helped them with a subliminal that they would know that they knew the answers because the
Right.
answers were there. They just had to relax enough to let the
Sure.
information come through.
Sure. And then tell us about your book. It's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
Yes, I
Mm-hmm.
have a book called The Biology of Beating Stress, and
And I
don't let
have
the
it. It's a
name scare
fabulous
you.
read, by the way. It's really fantastic. And I urge
Thank you.
anyone who is listening to buy it. It's really very, it's some of the tips you talked about, but also other things as well that are pertinent to making sure that you have good health and well-being. So it's at Barnes and Noble and it's on Amazon. And the name of the book is.
The Biology of Beating Stress. And I
Mm-hmm.
also have a companion workbook because many people asked me for, and it's called Be More, Stress Less.
I like that. I like that. Jean Ricks, thank you so much. And continue to feel better. Continue to
Thank
get
you.
well. We will do this again. We'll keep talking about this because it's important for people to hear how one can live a more healthy and happy life. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Michael.
My
Thank you.
my pleasure. Don't forget to catch me tomorrow at 6 p.m. I will be speaking to the legendary Dionne Warwick, and at 6:30, Richard Bell. You've heard of Kool and the Gang, right? Well, he was the band leader and also one of the co-founders of Kool and the Gang. So he's going to be joining me at 6:30 tomorrow. So you don't want to miss this evening with legends. I'm Michael Robinson. Remember, this is your time. Use it wisely.